right? I think that's what really stands out about him is for being somebody that is, not a really big guy, right? We see that, there's a free defensive lineman right here. Excellent job being able to notice that, right? Step up, see it out of the peripherals, avoid that guy. I mean, he didn't even come close. I don't even know if he touched him, right? Right here, he's going thinking he's going to just completely blindside him. He probably doesn't even know that he sees him from that into stepping up to not even getting touched, right? And then sees this guy obviously open, able to get the ball out of his hands really, really quickly. Let's see how long it took him to get the ball out of his hands here. Okay, 0.08. When that front hand first leaves the ball, and out of the hand by 0.28. Okay, 0.2 seconds. I think that's the record, right, in terms of how fast a guy is able to get the ball out of his hands. And at this point, it's not really about being able to put a lot on it, just about being able to be accurate, right? He's not. This isn't the gold standard of the base, right? The foot position, the body position. This is where the wrist flick ends up being so critical for the development as a quarterback, right? Being able to understand the offense, being able to have great pocket presence, and then at the end of the day, just being able to get the ball out of their hands quickly. Okay, that ends up being a critical part in being able to have a lot of success at the next level. So, and then this is going to go more into the deeper throws, right? And this is another thing that just ends up being a big intangible. So for quarterbacks, when I'm working with guys, okay, there's two main things that we really have to be able to really isolate, really improve in order to get that next level of exposure. Okay, if you want to get more looks by high schools, right? More looks by colleges, more looks by going into the NFL, right? We have to be able to have a great release, right? Great wrist flick that really goes into the release, in my opinion. Okay, and then we also have to have great, really throwing power, right? But what goes into throwing power is velocity and distance. Okay, there's a lot of guys that are pretty good with velocity, to be honest with you. So, I hear that all the time. People are like, oh yeah, I played catch with my son, and at 15 yards, I can't even catch his balls. The ball's coming so hard, right? Or 25 yards, whatever. And that's not a super uncommon thing, to be honest with you, especially if if you're throwing to somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience as a receiver, right? Because it's kind of easy to not understand how to properly catch the ball. But what ends up being a big differentiator is distance, okay? How can you throw the ball far? And what ends up being critical here is how well do you keep your weight back, okay? We see so many guys, and I'm going through this with, a lot of times when I used to do these, to be honest, I'd go through, right, and I would look to see what would be the best throws. Right here, I just went and just kind of getting back into the flow of doing these breakdowns again. And so I didn't even go through to number what the times were. I forgot that I used to do that. So I just kind of started the video, and here we go. And so the point being is I knew he was going to have good mechanics because all the best quarterbacks do this, right? This isn't something that is my opinion, right? This isn't something that I'm just kind of guesstimating that, Bryce Young does it, maybe, another person. All the best quarterbacks that could throw the ball far keep their weight back during the load, right? They're not immediately shifting their weight forward. I see this all the time, guys that are like, hey, I can only throw the ball 48 yards. Hey, send me some video. Let me take a look at it, and then we can get into the throw program from there. And the first thing you see guys do is take a step, and all of their weight comes forward, right? Or take a step and immediately open up that front arm. Okay, both things. Bryce Young, obviously, this is why he's the #1 overall, pick probably. Does a great job keeping that front arm back, right? Does a great job of keeping his weight back. A good way of being able to recognize the overall weight is really you want to have your head, even with the knee, potentially even behind that back knee. Okay, so then as you start coming forward, you have a better ability to shift your weight into that front leg. He kind of does like that Aaron Rodgers where he's like pushing upwards, but really either way, they're driving downwards to generate upward force, right? You could either push down, right, and push all the way down into your heels, okay? It's like kind of like a squat, right? When you're doing a squat and you're trying to drive that out of the bottom of the squat, you're trying to, kind of push downwards with your feet in order to make it so your hips come up, right? Similar thing with this, except he's driving downwards more like a jump, right? So he's pushing down into the ground to make it so then he can jump high, so his feet are coming off the ground, okay? But either way, you got to be pushing down in the ground in order to squat, right? Or in order to jump. It's just the reaction ends up being different because when you push into the ground when you're doing a squat, you're keeping the heels down in comparison to when you're jumping, you're bringing those heels up. So, for him, he's kind of jumping with it, okay? But he's still driving that foot down into the ground as he's coming all the way through, right? Which makes it so then he gets full rotational force all the way through. And again, you got to be able to sync that up with the wrist flick, right? You can't do this without having a great wrist flick. You have to be effective in, how you're able to let the ball get out of your hands. And we'll go more in depth into his wrist flick when we can start to see more of like his pro day and stuff. We'll go and do another breakdown of this so you can see more of that. But that ends up being a big thing with me is, I'm really trying to help guys understand and train how does the ball come out of your hand, right, to make it so you can optimize that movement. Okay, so you can see here, he's still back and he transitions his weight forward. So he's a little bit different in how he's coming off of that back leg and how he lands into the front leg. But you can see here, he doesn't really do that pop up of the front leg here, right? He really drives off that back leg and absorbs through the front, right? But you can see how well he sits into that front hip, sits into that front leg, and again, comes over the top really, really effectively, and it just looks beautiful, right? And again, one of the most exciting guys to watch. And his mechanics aren't perfect, right? It's not about having perfect mechanics. It's not about only throwing the football. Somebody that I show all the time, or at least I used to show. I don't know if I'm gonna still be able to do it. Is Zach Wilson, right? Because I got to go back and see what I would say with his mechanics and his overall trajectory, but I'm a big believer in Zach Wilson's mechanics. His ability to throw the ball is phenomenal, right? One of the best overall in terms of the ways I teach. He has some of the best mechanics, right? And I think he even fooled a lot of the GMs, right? People talking about how he might be one of the biggest busts ever because of how well he throws the football. It's not an issue of arm strength. It's not an issue of throwing distance. It's not an issue of anything that he does from a throwing perspective, right? But what it is the leadership in some of the other parts of, being a great quarterback. And we want to get into those as well within our programs. And so we do that. We have parts of it that are, yes, 100% about mechanics, but there's also a lot about accountability, leadership, how we can get the most out of ourselves, how can we stay disciplined, how can we stay consistent. Those are all things that are going to end up making a big difference when it comes to your ability to really maximize your performance long term. So yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be doing these breakdowns again. I really want to be able to do this on a pretty consistent basis, just like I was before. I've been doing a lot of stuff with the website, being able to change up how some of our programs are created, how we can be able to deliver more value to the people that are in the programs, but also be able to kind of widen the audience that we are able to speak to, right? A lot of what we've been doing has been for primarily the athletes, where I want to get a lot more into the coaches and trainers and be able to provide a lot more information for how you can develop your business, how you can develop an online platform that can make a lot of success for you long term. And some of the things that we did in order to make that happen. So again, I'm really excited about 2023 and being able to make some of those things available for more people, right? And also just being able to expand the overall concepts that we're able to talk about, right? Over this time period, it's not like I haven't been working, right? You go through here, I've been spending a lot of time, you can see the dates, I've been spending a lot of time consistently still, training people, working with people to help them in, their throwing, help them in their running. And so over that time period, it's helped me in being able to better understand what are the most common things that we're seeing with sprinting, some of the most common things we're seeing with, throwing, and how we can continue to get better with that and make it so you as a consumer of this information is going to be able to just get more and more benefit, get more results faster, okay? That's going to be the overall, big concept that we want to be able to really create and make possible for you. So As always, thanks for watching the video. Really appreciate it. And if you like the information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We have all the programs and options for you in the description down below. And if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, you can leave those down below as well. Would really appreciate that. You can also go into our website and send us an email. That's probably the fastest way to get a hold of us, is going through the website. But even through the different links below, you could also do that as well. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.